Please help me welcome today the author. His name is James Maiwurm. He's the author of Inheritance of Crisis and Dysfunction. It's the updated edition. Mr. Maywurm's novel really shines light on how family struggles and dysfunction can echo through generations, but also how resilience and truth can break those cycles. Welcome, James. I think it's something that we can all resonate with, and I'm so glad that you're here. James, would you just share, first of all, the main message of your book? What is it that you want people to understand about it?
I think I want people to come away with an understanding that we have more together than we have separate. In other words, we need to act in a manner that is consistent with the greater whole, rather than this sector and that sector and this little bit of the world or this little bit of the country. Because I really do think that if you go around the world, and I've had the opportunity to do a lot of international traveling, if you get to meet people from different parts of the world or different parts of the country or different parts of the industries or whatever, you'll find that people here in the United States and elsewhere have a lot more in common than they do separating them. And, it's not that hard to figure it out. What do people really want? What they want is an opportunity for their children and grandchildren to grow up with as much happiness and prosperity as they did. That's a hard goal to achieve, but it's a goal that everybody really shares if you think about it. And then there are the political positions that people take. I always remembered when I was doing a lot of international travel, I was fortunate to do lots of stops in various parts of the world. And I'll never forget. Well, I think of Tokyo or Beijing or Hong Kong. These are all places that are very different from the United States, but they have as much in common as they do apart. I can still remember in the early days picking up a cab at the Hong Kong airport. In the old days, when you picked up in a cab from the Hong Kong port, you talked to a guy at the taxi stop, and it was an English-speaking person from Hong Kong. Now it's not an English person from Hong Kong, but it's probably the same people, and they're probably got the same goal. They want to give you a ride or take your money, one or the other. And so I just think we have so much more common, and to respect that is important as part of what we can do to get along on a day-to-day basis.
Mr. Mayward, I'm so happy in talking to you. You have such a positive view. Everything when you're talking about the world, it's so easy to go right into the negative of what's wrong and how one culture is superior to another. But you're finding a way to bring what that beautiful common ground is that makes us a better world. And we all love,
I'm a believer in that. I
yeah,
think
we want love for
there
our children. We want to succeed. We want to do well. Um, let's tackle though the heart behind your book because it does talk about inheritance of crisis and dysfunction. And I imagine the positive side is coming through that. But something that we have in common around the world is that childhood is sometimes very difficult, and what we see and what we experience builds us into who we are as adults. Talk to me about that.
well, that's a very difficult and steep hill, for sure. And if you think about what's going on in places, let's pick one, Eastern Europe, uh, has recovered a great deal from the post-Soviet era, but still a lot of progress to be made. But then again, you get to decide, well, who are we worried about? Who are we going to help fix? Who do we want to bring along? And that gets you into discussions of, okay, this family or this person or this company really needs X or Y in the short run, but in the long run, they need Z or K. And so you have to understand that we all need to be talking from the same bread basket, so to speak, because when we try to bring all of these conveying interests together, you have to be understanding about who's got their foot on the floor when it comes to a particular entity, a particular problem, or a particular political issue.
We all love, we all want to survive and thrive, um, make the world a better place. But sometimes we come into adulthood a little bit broken. What inspired you to write this story? Was it drawn from personal observation, from your vast travels around the world, or a mix?
It's been a lot of reading and exposure to other people's, but it is largely a reflection of my own views because I have been fortunate, excuse me again to the cold, I have been fortunate to be able to think about things from my own perspective. And I'm not an expert on any of this. What I am is an interested observer of the world, and I'm sort of interested in where the goal is going, where the world is going, where it could go, where it could go bad, what we can do to help direct people in their thinking, and more important, their asking, and their even more important, their philosophies that guide us on a day-to-day basis. And so if you can bring those people together, those people who have common interests, those people who share shared values, those people who have concerns about the next generation and are not worried about this generation or that generation or the previous generation, but having some common interests that all can share the benefit of. And so I always think you have to say, look, if you're dealing with a person who comes from a different society, a different life, God knows there's a jillion of those. But if you're going to be dealing with that kind of diffusion, that kind of diversity, then you really need to think about what is it that we can do in our lives to help generate not an uneven battle against one country or one society or one other set of people in different parts of the world. What we really want, though, is for people to seek out the common ground. And I think, you know, you can see it in today's, in the United States. What are we looking for? We're looking for common interests
Mhm.
and people who are willing to articulate those common interests and act on them and understand that all is not well for everybody under every particular action or inaction. But if we could get people into that zone you know, it's a mediocrity, which I hate to say, but you know, what you want people to do is sort of be able to blend it together, choose their ways of achieving their common interests, and being able to resist what is increasingly a concern of all of us who think about it. I think is you know what's going to go on with this valuable democracy that we're facing. You know, we're playing games with here. It's really it's startling.
Mm. James, the title itself is very powerful. What does inheritance mean to you in this context?
Well, it means it refers to the fact that we all inherit what our predecessors have left for us. You know, and that could have been East Germany at the end of World War II. That was a thing, a society, a governance that was part and parcel of what those folks lived with on a day-to-day basis. So you inherit that, and then you know, then people would say, well, that doesn't tell the whole story. But I think what you inherit, you have to deal with and try to meld into that more common framework that is saleable to and benefits most of the people in a particular society or country. If you look for the common goal, if you look for the common ground, and you're brave enough to seize the common ground, then you know, lots of things can be achieved if you
Mhm.
recognize what's going on. But you have to, none of this stuff gets solved on on an overnight basis. But it also doesn't get solved if none of us works at solving it.
We want to just stay in our own little comfortable bubbles. But you're saying this is a global way of looking at moving the world forward for generations to come. And that's a beautiful way to think about leaving a legacy. Your book is really leaving how to make the world a better place for generations.
Well, we're trying, I think, to leave a legacy, and we're also trying to help people see the other side of the fence
Mm.
and make sure that people can see the problems associated with differences, problems associated with diversity, problems associated with racial issues, problems associated with gender issues. Good Lord, we've got all kinds of things we can differentiate us with. But the last thing we need is more hardline differentiators. What we need to understand is differentiators are part of the game. But what we really need to do is think about how do we build upon those differentiators and make us be stronger as a whole on an ongoing basis. And
If
if
we
you
could
think
just,
about
yeah, if we could remove our own personal and come together in a bigger community, we could get a lot done. What are some of those bigger issues that you're referring to?
there's so many, I think what's going on in this country, for example, with the downfall of what we call early days Christian democracy. That's going to be an interesting play to see how that works out because there's a wide vector of people that fall within that general interest group. But there are a lot of people in that vector who don't want to be in the same interest group because they don't see it's in their interest. And so what they do is because of what I think are the characteristics of fear and uncertainty. Some people are going to be saying, "Hands off! I don't need this, and I'll be fine without your help. Thanks very much." And in other cases, people will say, "No, I can learn something here. I can borrow from the best of the best, and move forward in a way that can work all of us in a collective fashion."
Mm.
And I was talking to somebody about this last week, and you just need to really understand how you can bring those different, I call different contexts into a braided, tactile cover of things that will be beneficial over the long term. And I
Mm.
think in this country, I mean, all you've got to do, if you don't watch the news, you'll be free from it. But otherwise, it's going to hit you in the head every day.
Right, right.
And I'm not talking, this is not about left wing or right wing. It's not against it's not against Trump or somebody from the far left wing of politics in this country. You have to everybody. I can still remember watching Trump in his first debate with Hillary Clinton, and thinking to myself, "Well, that was interesting," and you know she's pretty smart. But so is Trump, and he can move and manipulate and make things happen in ways that are somewhat interesting because he has a lot of talent
Yeah.
in and around that zone of things. And so I have to say, okay, I'm not going to vote Trump, but I'm not going to not admire him for what he's able to do.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. When you were writing, were there certain moments that were especially challenging for you with this book?
Yes, yes. I apologize again for my voice. Yes, definitely. And that the first one that came about a year and a half into writing, and I started rethinking the book. At that point, we were dealing with COVID. Uh, some of the things that the Soviet Union were trying to do. We had economic issues associated with this country that were troublesome. And so you could look at a whole grouping of people and crises that needed some attention. And so I I thought about a lot about what was going on in places like that. And then I also was curious about things like Eastern Europe, and that has been a more complicated subject matter than one would have thought. An example where maybe President Trump underestimated the degree of difficulty. I think we're still in his, by his schedule, we're still in his first schedule, first
James, I'm going to have you speak up just a little bit louder for me,
yeah,
okay?
I think he, if you had Mr. President Trump, the first 16 months are going to be easy. Well, I think he's found that nothing is easy. And if you recognize the differentiation and the differences that come into things,
Yeah.
then it's going to be much better.
Well, so this is the updated edition. What is updated about that? What did you want to bring forward this time around?
Oh, I would say you have to look at the Central uh, Asia and what's going there on there over the last 2.5 years. To say to yourself, is this, it's pretty clear that Trump and um, the Russians have a difficulty getting together in any meaningful way because they're not really seeing eye to eye, even regardless of what they may say. So that's a something that you don't kid yourself about being it too easy, because
Mm.
what's going to happen is you're going to have significant revolt, and not in the sense of a revolt with guns, but in a sense that what we need to do is bring the Central European countries together with all of their wealth, all of their resources, all of their talent, all of their mental toughness. That's a country that you'd have to say to yourself, that's a tough country.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a heavy topic that you're dealing with. When you were writing it, did it affect you personally as the author? Did you carry this with you?
I carried it with me to some extent because I was worried about the impact in and out of this range of issues that was represented by people who were trying to escape from the Ukraine, trying
Mm.
to achieve other things, and it's amazing what they've been able to achieve.
Yeah,
It really, really, truly is when you think about it.
yeah,
Wow, how did that happen? And it happened because they were determined, able, smart, and very determined.
yeah.
And you have to give them credit.
Yes,
It'd be
absolutely.
interesting to see what happens in this year.
Yes, it sure will. James, so we need to start to bring this airplane down for this interview, but what is something that you hope someone takes away from your book? What is the lasting message that you hope someone will take away?
Middle ground, middle ground,
Find that common
and
ground where you can work together.
you can work together. In other words, you don't have to win every battle or lose every fight in order to achieve more coalescence around a set of issues or places. And I think we have a lot more of that middle ground. Where I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, the middle ground wasn't too easy, wasn't too hard to find. But I think finding the middle ground and understanding that we're all in this together, whether we like it or not, are things that need to be beat into each other as much as we can.
James, thank you so much for this powerful message. I'm glad that you joined us today, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for
Well, thank you.
this
And I
beautiful message
hope
of
next
bringing
time I
people
have a
together.
better throat.
Well,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thanks for fighting through. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.